Well, we've come to the end of our Out of Practice group study together. And the last discipline that we're going to look at together is called worship. Yes, we practice the presence of God through worship. Now, most of us, when we hear the word worship, we immediately go to singing, and that is a huge form of worship. And we also go to what we call worship services, and we think immediately of a church building, specifically a sanctuary or a worship center that churches may have. And we go to these places to where we corporately will worship God by singing songs, hearing the word preached, and that is an act of worship for us. It is how we worship God together collectively, but worship is so much bigger than that. We should be practicing the presence of God through worship every day, in every area, and in every aspect of our lives. Remember, the goal of these disciplines isn't to practice to be good at practice. It's not to be good at worshiping, not to be good at fasting or praying or meditation or scripture. It's to be with God in His presence and to experience the powerful transformation of His presence. The goal of these disciplines is the total transformation of our lives, and worship is the manifestation of that transformation. We're going to look at Psalm 95, and it says this: "Oh, come, let us sing to the Lord. Let us make a joyful noise to the rock of our salvation." I love that it added, "let us make a joyful noise," because a lot of us, when we sing, it's definitely a joyful noise. More emphasis probably on the noise than actually singing. But it's to make a joyful noise to the rock of our salvation. That's God. He is the rock, Jesus, the rock of our salvation. Let us come into His presence. There's that word presence. Let us come into His presence with thanksgiving. Worship is all about being thankful. It's about singing. It's about being thankful. It's about meditation. It's about scripture. It encompasses all the disciplines into one, and it gives us thanksgiving into our heart. And so we make a joyful noise to Him with songs of praise. Why? Because the Lord our God is a great God, and He is a great King that is above all gods. And in His hand are the depths of the earth. The heights of the mountains are His also. The sea is His, for He made it, and His hands have formed the dry land. Oh, come, let us worship. Let us bow down. Let us kneel before the Lord, our Maker. Not only is He the maker of the seas and the mountains and the dry ground and the lands, but He's our Maker, made in His image. He's our God. He's our King, and we should bow down before Him and worship Him, for He is our God, and we are His people, the people of His pasture and the sheep of His hand. You see, worship isn't just about singing inside of a sanctuary. It's about singing with our lives. It's about the way we live, the totality of our lives, where we are constantly worshiping our Maker, the one who's made us in His image and made us for His presence, to experience His presence. So therefore, when I go to work, I worship and experience the presence of God. I may not sing at work. You may get fired for singing at your work, but you experience the powerful presence of God because you can worship while you work. You can worship while you play. You can worship while you go for a walk. You can worship when you're eating with your family. You can worship on your commute. You can worship everywhere we go. We are constantly worshiping something. You want to know why? Because our Maker made us to worship. We were created to worship. And when we worship with our lives, everything we have within us worships our God. That's where we want to be. That's the practice of His presence, is to be constantly aware of the presence of God in everyday life, so that we stop worshiping sports, that we stop worshiping success, that we stop worshiping our jobs, that we stop worshiping our inadequacies and our insecurities, and instead we constantly remind ourselves and become aware of His presence, and we worship Him instead. That's what it means to have this practice, this discipline of worship. It's training our minds and mobilizing and motivating our hearts to focus in on our Maker, the Maker of this beautiful creation, where the rocks cry out and the birds sing and the trees and the wind blows through the leaves, and they are constantly worshiping our God. May we join with all of creation, and may all of our lives exist in everything that we do, the total transformation of ourselves in worship our Maker. I'm so thankful for God, and therefore when I am thankful, I worship. May you have thanksgiving in your heart and worship God.